Hey guys, Joe here. Thanks for tuning into my channel. I am going to be showing you a replay of a match that I had a couple days ago against a Grixis opponent. Looking at the opening hands, on my side of things I have 3 lands, all blue sources, Silvergill, Merrow Reejerey, and Master of Waves as creatures, and a Spreading Seas. That's a great Merfolk hand, a definite keep. On the opponent's side of things, they also have 3 lands. They have a Fast Land with Darkslick Shores. That's a great play on turn 1. Creeping Tar Pit enters the battlefield tapped, but great man land to have late in the game to close things out. And Scalding Tarn to fix their mana with, I guess they need some red at some point. For spells, they have 2 creatures in Snapcaster Mage and Kalitas, Trader of Get, Thoughtseize probably on turn 1, and a Lightning Bolt to deal with one of my creatures, especially great with Snapcaster Mage. So this is a super excellent hand for the Grixis opponent. Okay, so 2 easy keeps on either side of the table. The opponent is on the play here, so they're going to start with the Darkslick Shores into Thoughtseize, going down to 18 life already. Seeing my hand, most mid-range sort of control decks always choose to take Spreading Seas just because it draws me into cards and damages their mana. So the opponent did in fact choose to take Spreading Seas. So I'll go ahead and play my island and pass the turn. I can hide Spreading Seas here from the cards that the opponent has information about, and I can hide one of these islands. Alright, so the opponent drew a 4th land, which is going to be good to get Kalitas on the table. I drew into a Dismember, which is going to be good to get Kalitas off the table. And here I'm just going to go with extremely typical turn 2 from Merfolk. Silvergill Adept revealing Merrow Reejerey. Let's see what I draw off the Silvergill Adept. Well, a Lord, that's a pretty nice draw. The opponent cracks the Bloodstained Mire, getting a tapped Blood Crypt on my end step, and goes ahead and draws into a 5th land. Not an optimal draw, but the opponent still has a very solid hand against Merfolk. Looks like the opponent went ahead, cracked the Scalding Tarn, going down to 16. At this point they've lost 2 life from Thoughtseize and 2 life from cracking 2 fetch lands. Opponent gets a basic mountain and is going to Snapcaster Thoughtseize me here. Going down to 14 life. I reveal my hand again to the opponent, and let's see what he chose to take this time. Alright, well, he took the Master of Waves. A very good card. Decent decision by the opponent, I suppose. So at this point, we're getting into the middle part of the game. The opponent with the Snapcaster on the board, and me with the Lord in hand. I think I'm going to choose to go ahead, play out the Lord. I don't know he has this Kalitas on board, but the Snapcaster, without access to Island Walk, is getting in my way, so I'm going to go ahead and kill that guy with Dismember. Might seem a little overly aggressive, but have to push damage sometimes. So the opponent has only drawn lands this game. It's pretty awkward. The Lord gets hit by a bolt. That's okay. I draw into another Reejerey. I'm just going to play one of those guys and attack for another 3. The opponent goes down to 8 and I pass the turn. Hitting an Inquisition, the opponent can play a land, play Inquisition, and play Kalitas. So there's our Kalitas. Cracks a fetch land, goes down to 7 for our basic swamp. Inquisition will take the Reejerey out of my hand. Okay, so now the opponent knows that I have a Wanderwine Hub. I hit a land, which is a little bit frustrating. I have no profitable attacks. Think about it for a moment. If I attack with Mutavault and Silvergill, he can block either of those, gain 3 with lifelink, lose 5. netting only 2 damage. He'd go from 7 down to 5, so definitely not a profitable attack, especially since he would kill one of my creatures. Okay, the opponent draws another land. I'm going to choose probably not to attack with Kalitas just because I could double block that guy. I draw a Cursecatcher, which any Merfolk would do in this spot. I'm going to go ahead and tap the Kalitas, activate Mutavault, and get in for what should be lethal. Actually, sorry, I pause. During the game, I was aware of this Creeping Tar Pit, so that's where some of this thinking time is being spent about exactly how to go about attacks here. I'm going to just get in with these two, choosing to keep my Lord on the table. I want the Reejerey available for tap triggers for future turns. The opponent is going to activate the Creeping Tar Pit and is going to block the Silvergill Adept. Seems like a smart decision. Silvergill Adept, in my view, is a little bit more valuable than Mutavault at this point, since Silvergill can contribute Devotion for Master of Waves should I happen to top deck a Master of Waves. So the opponent blocked and traded with the Silvergill Adept and is going to take 3 from the Mutavault. Alright, so the opponent drew a Serum Visions, I guess, and cast it, and drew into another Serum Visions. You can see the opponent is drawing pretty awkwardly this game. A few too many lands. So we can see in the replay here that he chose to keep Slaughter Pact on the top of his library. He's going to cast another Serum Visions here, drawing into the Slaughter Pact that he scryed. He puts Ancestral Vision onto the bottom of the library and chooses to keep the other card, which we don't see. Okay, he plays his Bloodstained Mire and is going to choose to attack with Kalitas here. I'm going to go down from 16 to 13 and the opponent goes up from 3 to 6. The opponent must have felt bold with the Slaughter Pact in hand. So I'm going to go ahead and play my Lord here. Now, we do get a tap trigger out of Reejerey. It's largely irrelevant what we choose to tap. I'm going to point it as Blood Crypt and just kind of force the issue if he has, I don't know, something that requires more mana that he happens to have left over after the Blood Crypt gets tapped. After the Lord resolves, we're going to have 3-3, a 3-3, and a 4-4, which is overkill. But if he plays a Slaughter Pact, killing the Reejerey, we're still going to have a 2-2 and a 3-3 attacking. So getting pretty close. Play the Lord, activate the Mutavault, attack. Okay, before blocks, interesting timing. The opponent is going to cast Slaughter Pact, and with 3 mana up, Cursecatcher's not going to be able to do a whole lot about that. So Reejerey bites the dust. The opponent is going to have to take 5. He said he chose the wrong Lord. Don't know that he needed to scoop there, but he did. So we got there. Now the opponent had an amazing hand, but drew into way too many lands. Let's see how game 2 went. Okay, on my side of things, this hand looks very solid. I have a little bit of interaction in the form of Negate. Probably going to be used in the mid to late game against something like an Anger of the Gods or Damnation. On the opponent's side, we see he has another fast land, Darkslick Shores, Blood Crypt, and Creeping Tar Pit. Very similar sort of hand to his last hand. 3 lands, Tasigur, Inquisition, Lightning Bolt, and Serum Visions. Looks like a great hand for the opponent. Pretty decent hand on my side. So we both keep. The opponent is going to open up with Darkslick Shores into Inquisition of Kozilek. Keep my hand over here on the side, just to keep track of what information the opponent has. And he takes Master of the Pearl Trident and passes the turn. Okay, for my turn, I draw into Akira. It's going to be pretty good in this kind of a matchup. Okay, the opponent drew Kolaghan's Command. That's also going to be good in this matchup. So they play untap Blood Crypt, going down to 18, cast a Serum Visions, draw into a Terminate, and he's going to scry the top two, and we can see what he did with those two cards. Looks like he spent a decent amount of time thinking about it. But he put an island from the library onto the bottom of his library, and he put a mountain from the library onto the bottom of his library. So Serum Vision's really effective there, throwing away some lands that he doesn't need at this point. I continue drawing really nice spells, but I definitely wanted to be drawing lands. So I play out... Okay, so it's important at this point to talk about what my strategy should be. If I just sit back on Negate, the opponent can play something, you know, like Tasigur, maybe not this turn, but in a couple turns from now. They can play Kolaghan's Command with other modes, potentially returning a creature from his graveyard, just making me discard something, or just dealing 2 damage to me and making me discard. Still a lot of value. Actually, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that if I tried to sit up and just hold Negate up, it's likely the opponent can either just pass the turn back to me and I just waste my mana, or, you know, they'll just play something like I was just saying, Kolaghan's Command, where they make me discard and deal 2 damage to me, which is, you know, as far as, you know, the usefulness of Kolaghan's Command goes, it's not the highest impact. Typically, we want to prevent them from destroying our creatures, and if they want to get back a great creature from their graveyard, like Snapcaster, that's a situation where we want to counter that. Right now, I don't know what the opponent has in hand, and I need to start establishing some kind of pressure. So I try to play out a Lord. Unfortunately, the opponent has plenty of removal, so that Lord gets removed. I'm just hoping to draw lands. The opponent plays a tapped Creeping Tar Pit and another Inquisition of Kozilek. This time, I think he's going to probably choose to take Kira, and he does in fact. So for my turn, I draw into a Dispel. I'm just going to keep the same plan, making maximum use out of my mana, trying to establish some kind of clock. So the opponent casts Kolaghan's Command. He's going to kill my Lord and make me discard. I throw away the Negate because it's too much of a mana commitment. Continue not hitting lands. So, let's see. Play out another Lord. I think I know where this is going. Opponent plays a Snapcaster and chooses Inquisition. He's only going to be able to take the Dispel out of my hand here, and these 2 Masters are pretty useless. Okay, so I've had 5 draws after my opening 7 now, and haven't hit any lands. Sometimes it happens. We saw the opponent only drew lands in the first game, so I guess this is karma coming back to get me. Opponent casts Serum Visions, draws into a Scalding Tarn. Pretty solid for them. They're sitting on 3 lands currently. And scrying the top 2. He puts Anger of the Gods onto the bottom of the library. That's kind of embarrassing for me. And puts Watery Grave onto the bottom of the library. Plays the Scalding Tarn, cracks the Scalding Tarn. He's got plenty of life to work with. Gets a basic mountain. Gonna terminate my Lord. No more counterspells in my hand. Plenty of stuff in the graveyard. He's going to exile, I guess, 6 things, or 5 things for Tasigur. Scalding Tarn, Serum Visions, Inquisition, and Terminate. And there's Tasigur. I'll just get rid of him right away. Snapcaster attacks. I go down to 14. Continue not hitting lands. I've now had 6 draws with no lands, I believe. Opponent casts Inquisition. There goes my Reejerey. Opponent gets in for 2 again. And very timely, plays out a second Tasigur. So I hit a land. It's almost definitely too little too late. The opponent has access now to his Creeping Tar Pit, and seems like a good time to start pushing damage. So they do activate Creeping Tar Pit, and they swing for 9. At this point, I can't throw my Mutavault away to block a Snapcaster Mage. I draw another Mutavault, but decide that there's not anything I can do because next turn the opponent was coming with 3 more unblockable damage with the tar pit, and I was sitting at 3. So I drew no lands that game. The first game the opponent drew all lands. Let's see, hopefully game 3 is a little more interesting. Okay, so I'm going to choose to keep this. It's a really, really spectacular hand. 2 lands, including an Aether Vial, Cursecatcher, Silvergill, Lord, and a Negate to stop whatever the opponent tries to do to my board, whether it be Anger of the Gods or Damnation or Kolaghan's Command. Opponent's side of things, they only have 2 lands, but they have a lot of gas. Let's see, creature-wise, they have Snapcaster and Kalidas, both great cards. Crypt Incursion, very powerful in an aggro matchup. They get to exile all the creature cards from my graveyard, and he gains 3 life for each creature card exiled this way. So he keeps Lightning Bolting and Terminating and Kolaghan's Commanding, kills creature after creature after creature. I managed to sneak a few points of damage in here and there, get him down to maybe 10, and then all of a sudden he exiles 4 or 5 creatures from my graveyard, gains 15 life, and everything, just the game is totally out of reach. So a pretty solid card in this matchup. Kolaghan's Command, of course, amazing. Terminate, just doing what Terminate does. Hard to say if the opponent's going to keep this. On the draw, it seems more likely than if he were on the play. I told him that I'm going to keep. Let's see if he chooses to keep. A little bit sketchy. He chooses to mulligan. So maybe not the best decision, as he still only hits 2 lands, now has 2 Snapcasters, no removal except the Anger of the Gods, and just a Fulminator Mage. I think he might have to stick here with a Scry. So he likes what he sees on the top of his deck. I'm going to open, of course, with Island into Aether Vial and pass the turn to the opponent. He kept a Polluted Delta on the top of his library, so he's going to have access to the 3 mana necessary for both Fulminator Mage and Anger of the Gods. For my turn, I hit a Dispel, which is always great in these kinds of matchups. I want to be able to keep my opponent off of things like Kolaghan's Command. Another extremely typical turn to Merfolk play, Silvergill, revealing another Merfolk, in this case Master of the Pearl Trident. I drew into another Dispel, so really playing aggro control this game. The opponent cracked his fetch and gets a tapped Blood Crypt at my end step. The opponent forgets to go down to 19, but then remembers. So we can see the opponent's hand developing here. He hits a Thoughtseize. He's getting some nice interaction, and with 3 lands, he's going to have the opportunity to actually cast some of these things. I'm going to reveal reveal my hand to Thoughtseize, and let's see what the opponent chooses to take. Seems like Master of the Pearl Trident's probably the best pick here. Though with Anger of the Gods sitting in his hand, I could also see a case for taking Negate. Well, he chose to take Cursecatcher. I guess Cursecatcher is going to keep him off of Anger of the Gods even longer. But, I don't know, a little bit strange. I think I would have taken either the Master or the Negate if I were in his shoes. Because this turn, he only has a single Polluted Delta up. I draw into another Lord, and have the freedom here to sit behind Aether Vial and keep counter magic up. So the opponent took too much damage off of his fetches and Thoughtseize. He's actually at 17 right now. Okay, so I'm going to Vial in a Lord and swing for 3. The opponent's going to go from 17 down to 14, then down to 13, cracking his Polluted Delta at my end step. He's going to fetch up a tapped Steam Vents. I have access to 2 Dispels and Negate. It's always really fun when I get to actually play sort of aggro control with Merfolk. In order to really do this effectively, I need to hit an Aether Vial on turn 1, and I need to hit 1 or 2 counter spells. As you can see, I actually have 3 counter spells, so I feel really, really nice and comfortable in this position. So for his turn, the opponent drew a Slaughter Games. Interesting, I guess, sideboard tech against Merfolk. The opponent's going to go for Fulminator Mage, which is fine. There's nothing I can do about that. He thinks he's going to take me off of my counter magic here, but seems to forget that Fulminator Mage can't destroy basic lands. So it's going to hit my Cavern. That's fine. Now, I have to hope here, because he's going for Anger of the Gods next turn, that that I hit a land on my turn. So I'm going to move the cards down here that my opponent knows about. Let's see, we've already played Master of the Pearl Trident. He knows about these 3 counterspells. He doesn't know about this Lord. I'm going to open my opponent's graveyard here just because he has 2 Snapcasters in hand. No lightning bolts or anything, just a Thoughtseize that he could snap back. Okay, so the opponent's turn, he played a Fulminator Mage, sacrificed him to destroy my Cavern of Souls. In order to keep my sort of aggro control plan going, I'm really wanting to hit a land here, and I do, which is very nice because I also hit another Merfolk on the previous turn to be able to play my land untapped. Vial in the Lord, swing for 7. The opponent goes down from 13 to 6. 6. Let's go. All right. So I guess the opponent here sees that I have Island Walk and knows that I have Negate. So a little bit frustrated, I guess, a little bit salty, I think, that I drew into that land after his Fulminator Mage play. So he draws into a Kalitas. And I think that was pretty much it. He gets pretty salty, tells me nice land grab, and he's going to play his Anger of the Gods, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cast Negate. And the opponent just left. So pretty interesting match against Grixis control. More like Grixis mid-range control. We got to see in the last game, we both hit our lands, we both hit our spells, but Merfolk with Island Walk and counterspells and AEther Vial have a pretty good matchup against Grixis control generally, I think. So thanks for watching, everybody. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and leave comments, thumbs up, all that stuff. And thanks again. I'll catch you next time. See you later.